Bigfoot is very much still around, as a hunter has just came forward about an encounter he had with the beast on December 28, 2024 in Washington. Now, a man named Andrew Baum was perched in a 17-foot high tree stand for hunting when he claims that he saw Bigfoot walking around on the forest floor. It was taking real long strides, his head was kinda down, moving down the hill, it had a big head, I lost it when it walked into the tree line, he said. Now, this happened in the late afternoon, so the sun was still out, and Andrew is convinced that he saw what he saw. He later said, "I know every animal. It was not a bear, it was not a monkey, it was black or even brown in color. I was shocked. A Bigfoot is not something that just pops up in your head," he said. Now, the creature moved rapidly with large, long steps, and it took me a moment to focus my eyes. Then I knew it was too big and moving too fast. A man would have to be running full speed to cross the field that quickly, Andrew said. So, hey, I guess it's a good thing that he was up in that tree when this incident happened. Now, this Reddit user posted their experience they had with Bigfoot this past fall in Wisconsin. They said that they own several hundreds of acres, which includes timber and a marshy swamp/bog, and that throughout the land there are various food plots and deer stands. One day the user went out to check them, and everything seemed normal until they came to one of the plots by the marshy swamp. The food plot had been completely torn up, and there were what appeared to be half-eaten wine sap apples everywhere. Now, they realized that a deer couldn't have done this, and then they heard something moving through the swamp at what seemed to be a very brisk walk or jog. They then saw what appeared to be a 400-pound ape-like man rooting around in leafy debris on the ground. This was approximately 75 to 100 yards from where they were standing, so they, and I quote, "stood in fear as I witnessed some type of large humanoid kicking up what appeared to be donkey apples." They continued on by saying, "As I moved in to try to get a closer look, I noticed that this beast was head to toe in what appeared to be long, thick, greasy looking hair. My foot must have snapped a twig because the ape-like creature stood up and sprinted off." Now, after they were sure that the creature had left, they went to where it was and found even more apples. They added that this was one of the craziest experiences in their life and that they now believe in Bigfoot. But honestly, if I had that encounter, I'd believe too. In October 2023, a Bigfoot video filmed in Colorado went viral online. And let me tell you, it had a lot of us convinced. Stenson Parker and his wife Shannon recently took a trip through Colorado to celebrate their 10th anniversary. They boarded the Durango and Silverton narrow gauge railroad and saw something unexpected: Bigfoot. Now, the video, which was taken by a fellow passenger and posted online by Stenson, shows a tall brownish creature walking and squatting before it blends into its surroundings. Now, the footage is zoomed in, making for a grainy video, but to him, Stenson said, the creature didn't look like a human. It didn't move like a person, it looked more like an ape, but it didn't walk like an ape so much. He then added that the creature's arms seemed too long to be human, with its hands reaching down to its knees. "It didn't look like anything I've ever seen before," he said. "I don't think it was a hoax, and if it was a really good one." Now, this video went absolutely viral online, and many people believe that they saw Bigfoot that day. Now, a hunter once claimed he encountered Bigfoot and unveiled shocking photo proof to the world after setting up cameras outside his house. Craig Salk really loved hunting with his wife, and to increase the odds of their hunting success, Craig set up a number of trail cams on his land. In 2012, one of the cameras snapped a mysterious figure that didn't appear to be an animal or a human. Now, luckily, Craig was a big fan of the show Finding Bigfoot on Animal Planet, and he knew exactly what he had to do. He reached out to the TV channel and showed the producers the images captured on his cameras. Now, Animal Planet was massively impressed by the fact that Craig had managed to get 3 snaps of the mysterious creature, so they filmed an episode with him. Now, after the episode aired, Craig was suddenly a star, and he was flooded with phone calls and visits from Americans who wanted to share their own bizarre paranormal experiences. Now, Craig and his wife soon opened their land up to the world and let anyone come out and examine the spot where Bigfoot was seen and take pictures and judge for themselves. Imagine trying to have a relaxing weekend at your cottage and then you stumble upon Bigfoot. Yeah, well, that's exactly what happened to this family. The first night, they just heard Bigfoot, or what they believed to be two different Bigfoot creatures, communicating. The man said it was fairly obvious that the sounds were coming from two areas about 15 degrees apart. There was also the noise of wood breaking and banging that was quite loud. We stepped out onto the deck to listen better. It was fairly obvious that one noise was getting closer to the other. The noises were really loud, and it sounded like mayhem was breaking loose, trees being smacked and banging noises, shouts and whoops. Then it went quiet really quickly, which was followed by a series of deep whooping noises and clicks, which went on intermittently past the point I went to sleep. Now that is just unsettling, but the next day he actually saw one of these creatures. He said, the next day I saw this big black brown thing sitting on a boulder about 20 feet above the water. I thought at first it was a bear, but when a bear sits, its legs just stick out in front slightly splayed. This thing had knees, and it was sitting with its knees up near its chest. I was not sure of what I was seeing, so I looked away and went back at it. I was not mistaken, it had knees and was covered with hair with no neck, and then slapped its hands on the rock about 3 times, both hands at the same time. It looked kind of straggly and matted. It was huge on top like the chest area, but it had scrawny by comparison legs, and the hair on its legs was thinner and lighter. The thing just stood up and walked into a bush behind it. Now, to me, this seems like Bigfoot just wanted to enjoy the cottage views as well. Now, at one point, a Bigfoot sighting actually turned into a federal investigation after a man fired his weapon inside a national park in Kentucky. Brad Ginn told news outlets that he and his girlfriend were camping nearby and were awakened about 1 a.m. by a man with his son. We got out of the tent and saw a man who told us their campsite had been destroyed by someone or something. The man, who was with his son, showed them the weapon on his hip and told them that the area was popular for Bigfoot sightings. Later they said, "We heard them yelling, 'I see it,'" Brad said. "We saw the flash from his weapon, and he shot maybe 20 yards from the side of our tent into the pitch black darkness." Now after this, Brad and his girlfriend decided to leave and report the incident, and park spokeswoman Molly Schroner said that there was an investigation, but the park was safe to visit. Now the statement did not confirm a Bigfoot sighting, but Molly said that no threat remained in the park. So hey, maybe if you ever do see Bigfoot though, maybe don't try and injure him like that. In March 2022 in Big Sur, California, a hiker spotted a very large footprint. Now they took a picture of it next to their own foot for perspective and shared it on Reddit's Bigfoot page, where commenters discussed if they felt the print belonged to a Sasquatch or if it was nothing. But there were plenty of believers. One person wrote, "This is the first imprint I've seen. That clearly isn't a bear. Good find." While another stated, "I wish the print was more fresh, but this really does look like a Bigfoot track," and a third chimed in saying, "What a solid print," and someone else added, "Definitely Sasquatch." The upper foot impression is relative to the lower within diameter of the depth. I'd reach out to your local Bigfoot field researchers organization in your area ASAP, someone else added. Now it honestly does look huge, and to me, you can even see the toe prints, so it seems pretty convincing to me.
You know if it was Bigfoot based on the sound of his steps alone. Here are some bizarre Bigfoot sightings that scientists struggle to explain. The brown footage. Originally uploaded to YouTube over 12 years ago. 12 years people have tried to debunk this, but not one person has been able to. It happens very quickly. But with a trail cam, this person managed to capture a strange, gigantic creature darting from one tree over to the next. At the beginning, we kind of almost see it hiding behind the tree, trying to remain hidden as best as possible before making a quick escape. Its limbs are extremely lengthy as well, and its upper body looking mighty built in comparison to its lower half. Although it could also possibly be mistaken for a human as well, there's just something off about the shape of this guy that just doesn't sit right with me. There's a clear uncanny valley vibe to this creature. The way it moves, the way it swings its arms, it's more animalistic than a regular person. When you live out in the middle of nowhere, you're almost expecting to come across situations revelations that your mind simply can't make sense of. Uploaded to YouTube many years ago, we get a very interesting piece of footage of what appears to look like some sort of bear or giant dog, until this giant creature decides to stand up. Immediately, I'm taken aback by the sudden change in its shape, going from some animal on all fours to standing completely upright, really showing off the intense build this monster has. It was already big while being closer to the ground, but getting a proper perspective of it with all the foliage around it and how far away the camera is, I can only imagine how much bigger this thing would be if the cameraman got a bit closer. Usually Bigfoot likes to hide out in dense forest, so seeing it out in the middle of a field is quite eerie. Capturing footage of Bigfoot without him even being aware is almost too good to be true. Usually we always just see him running off, but in this trail cam video, they managed to capture a supposed Bigfoot just chilling in the middle of the woods. The fact that this video was mainly just Bigfoot staying in place for quite a bit of time, like some animals would, makes me question this piece of so-called footage. It's different from the other Bigfoot videos, which is why it makes it so much more intriguing to me. We're simply just observing it be, wondering what it's going to do next. It keeps you on your toes. Towards the end of the video though, when the camera changes, we get a bit of a jump scare of a giant log being tossed across the camera, and it then switches again to someone or something holding the camera. If anyone threw a rock at your loved ones, wouldn't you be fired up as well to see who did it? This video was uploaded to YouTube by Cabin in the Woods, and a man tells the story about he and his daughter were going along a hiking trail when suddenly his daughter was hit with a rock. She was obviously fine, but it was shocking enough for him to get all dad mode and defensive about it. When he tried to see who threw it, he noticed the large brown stature of the beast in the distance. With his curiosity piqued, that's when he takes out his camera to go and follow it. When he managed to finally catch up to it, the supposed Bigfoot tried to do the whole stay still and camouflage tactic. And man, can they stay super still. You wouldn't even notice it unless he zoomed in. But this guy is not moving. He almost looks like tree bark with the texture of his fur. Based on the cameraman's estimations, his speculation of the creature's height had to be around 9 feet tall. That's terrifying. A standoff with Bigfoot in the middle of nowhere? Yeah, no thanks, I'm good. Unluckily enough for this guy though, whoever was filming it didn't seem to have a choice. This footage was apparently captured in St. Elmo, Illinois back in 2012, and what appeared to be a peaceful day of riding on a snowmobile just turned into recording the most intense Bigfoot standoff to ever exist. With wild animals too, you don't know what they're capable of doing. Although this supposed Bigfoot is just standing there, one thing could easily set him off and he'd suddenly be charging down towards you in a blink of an eye. What really irks me though is that we can see the camera person make a horrible choice at trying to get closer to this thing. Humans are way too curious for their own good. We often forget about our own mortality. Despite his monstrous size, he is the master of camouflage. He will follow in your shadows wherever you go if you accidentally stumble within his territory. These are terrifying Bigfoot sightings that have left the world questioning its existence for years. Coming across the legendary Bigfoot when you're alone in the woods? What exactly do you even do? Thankfully, the cameraman in this video was on an ATV, so even if it did start running at him, they had a better chance at escaping rather than on foot. But as mentioned, our main protagonist of this video is driving along with his ATV in the woods, when all of a sudden, when he's approaching a sharp turn, we get the image of this giant, dark, furry creature right on the edge of the path. Obviously, the ATV rider is absolutely shaken by this encounter, the brain not fully grasping what it was he just saw. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Even when he plays it back in slow-mo, I can't even decipher where the beast's head is at. Needless to say, after taking a few more double takes at the thing, the dude put the pedal to the metal to get far away from whatever it was. When we look at Bigfoot footage, some of them are valuable proof of this showing its absolute sheer force and velocity. This is one of those videos. This was also taken with a trail cam somewhere in the southern parts of the US, and apparently from their explanation is that Bigfoot was trying to scare off a skunk by throwing a rock at it. I know, not much to take away from this, but it's the fact that while they were playing this video of the rock being thrown, you could not see it until you paused the clip. The rock was being thrown so fast that the camera was not able to pick it up under normal speed. What animal can do that in the middle of the woods? And not to mention, at the height it was being thrown at, it's pretty tall. If you ever come across a possible Bigfoot, you run in the other direction. Got it? Bigfoot apparently wants to get get into baseball based on this video. Uploaded in September of 2023, a supposed Bigfoot was caught on a trail cam near Banff Park boundary. The description of this video though is that apparently the Bigfoot was giving a warning to a nearby hunter by splitting a log on a tree. It's a little terrifying, I'm not gonna lie, especially the sound that emits after he knocks it against the tree, really showcasing that sheer force we were talking about earlier. This branch literally splits into pieces. That is terrifying. Person in a costume or not, I got the warning and I'll be sure to get out of there ASAP. Sorry to bother you, Mr. Bigfoot, sir. What's worse than seeing a Bigfoot in the woods? A Bigfoot on a snowy mountain. You know how hard it is to run down a mountain covered in snow? Not easy. Two hikers back in the late 90s were recording their journey up along the Himalayas. They were out there for a while before anything weird happened, because it wasn't until they really started getting higher up the mountain that they noticed a strange creature climbing alongside them just a few feet away. No safety gear on this thing, it doesn't have proper suit or shoes for this climb, and it actually looks like it's all one color. It does look like brown fur when the camera zooms in closer. Thankfully, whatever this thing was didn't seem to notice them, because you do not want this wild animal chasing you down a 7,000 meter drop. Usually Bigfoot is found in North America, right? Well, apparently they're also migrating to Russia somehow. This is what the video is labeled as, at least. A supposed Russian Yeti was found running and jumping through these woodland areas back in 2009. It happens all very fast, but I think this is the first footage I've ever seen where this Yeti is running in a more ape-like manner, rather than the typical walking man that most Bigfoot videos show. People in the comment section thought the same thing as me. Everyone called it some sort of gorilla, but when we saw the last few moments of the clip with its arms stretched out, we got to see that famous lanky look that Bigfoot is known to have. It definitely has to be some sort of animal. The movements are way too animalistic for a person to mimic. Could this be an ape? Or an actual Bigfoot appearance? Do you have any Bigfoot sightings you want to share? Let me know down below, and I will see you all in the next video.